Hello, everyone. Welcome out to the Rawlings Training Center for today's episode of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. We're right in the middle of our winter workout tour. We're having a good time. We just posted our Mac and Sights video. It was a great conversation. Love Nick Crouch over there, Dan Lake. Two good dudes. Gonzo Gonzalez, that was fun. He popped a card. Mariano Rivera. It was killer. Anyway, go watch that, check that out, learn some good stuff about those guys. We got Inside Edge coming out on Monday. We were at their training facility with those guys. Looking forward to that one. Had a great time in Nashville with Dave and Dave, Midland, and Showtime Sports Academy, Hojo Baseball. A lot of fun. We got one more. We're heading down to Lake of the Ozarks for a couple more stops. We'll keep you posted on that. But make sure you check that out. Dave and Dave doing a great job with Game 7 Baseball. Get your team registered. Great tournaments. We're going to have a lot of fun this summer. We're going to be live streaming again the 14U Championships at select tournaments. We'll be releasing that schedule here real soon. Anything else, Drew? Did I cover everything? Oh, no, we'll get to that. I covered it all there with game7baseball.com. Make sure you tell Dave and Dave we sent you. All right. Hey, I'm going to mess up his name, I'm sure. Aaron Jaworski, David Burkby.
Carter Mize.
There you go, Carter. I don't want to mess it up, bro.
Nope, all good.
Yeah.
All good.
We're hanging out up here with all the training equipment. I'm not using it a bit, as you can tell, but that's all right. But we got a little bit of training going on here. We decided to come out. They invited us over. We're live. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Good. Yeah, thanks for having us. So we're excited you guys are here and seeing the facility and hosting the show, and very grateful about that, so thank you.
Absolutely. The last time we were here, I believe, was 2019.
Yep.
We did a tour stop with the Rawlings Extreme.
Yep.
And so it's changed quite a bit. You guys did some things to it, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We remodeled it. Kind of started with needing really some office space down low with our club. We're growing outside the area, so we did a big renovation in there. Then the facility, we flipped it. We took in all the nets and put in all new lights, painted it floor to ceiling, different signage, different floor. Add a lot of equipment and technology, so it's been a good home for us. Did all this kind of right after COVID, I guess, around 2000.
Yeah, fall of 2020.
Fall of 2020.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You guys, lights, I hear people talk about lights. Do you have to have the right lights?
Yes.
You need a lot.
Well, you know when you don't have the right lights. Let's put it that way.
Is that right?
Yeah, they need to be a lot and bright. So yeah.
A lot.
I mean,
and
I don't know
bright.
if there's like a specific kind, but obviously the new fluorescents are better.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise,
you
the
need
hitters
a
complain
lot.
too much.
Yeah.
I
do.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people talking about LED, using LED lights
Yeah.
in facilities and whatnot. Is that a big deal now?
Yeah, I mean, anything that can be as bright as you can get and
Right.
last as long as you can get, because they're on all the time, and there's holes that form in the cages, they get hit, and they're always a problem.
Mending the nets, right?
Oh God, that never stops. So,
Do they? How long did they? I mean, how long does a net last?
I mean, a good net will last 10 years. It's
Okay.
different gauges, so there's 36, 48 gauge, and so on, up to, I think, 92 or 96, thicker
Thickness,
yep.
gauge.
Those will last a long time, but, it takes a beating. Like, we use Hack Attack pitching machines,
Yeah.
and they go down, but I think they're the best machines out there.
By far. Agreed.
But again, they're getting used here 3 to 10, 5 days a week, all weekend, where a college might have one and just use it for a practice session a day. So those things don't turn off for 6 hours in here and every single day. So they take a beating.
How many baseballs do you think run through that thing in one day?
Oh, God.
Carter, you're a math guy.
I'm not a math
A
guy.
million. I love it. A million.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, when I'm working with the youth teams
Yeah.
or lessons that I'm doing in here, I get the Hack Attack out. I'm like, how many baseballs have ran through this thing already? And it's 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
So
I'd
yeah,
say 100 an hour. I mean,
Yeah,
at least.
100 an hour.
So
That's a lot of
500,
baseballs.
600 a day,
Yeah.
7 days a week. That's a lot of balls going
That's a
through
lot of
there.
they put the
baseballs,
work in
man.
for sure.
Yeah.
How often do you guys have to replace the baseballs for machines like that? That's a curious question. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we usually every quarter we kind of do a ball inventory and pull them out of the storage and replenish. And so I mean, the machines wear them out, obviously, with the wheels and stuff. That's the big thing. But they get beat up.
Never have too many baseballs.
Yeah.
No, do you guys just use like a practice baseball? Is there different ones for that type of stuff?
Yeah, we don't.
As compared
yeah,
to
you have like the high school game ball or college
Yeah,
game
yeah.
ball, and then there's some kind of right below that, and then there's the rubber ones you can get at Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff, and
they kind of go flat when they come out of there.
Yeah, we don't get into those here, but and then pitchers always complain they want the pearls, right, Dave?
That's right. Of
Where,
course,
the hitters don't care; they'll hit anything.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It's different.
There's a lot of brown baseballs around here.
They
Exactly.
still work.
Yeah.
It's tough to throw that brown baseball, isn't
Yes, it is.
Get any spin on it. Need that.
That's right.
Need to see the red.
That's right.
There you go. I like that. I like that. Guys, how long was so you started this facility here? How many other? We were talking earlier before we started because we saw Evan. He was at Baldwin.
He's heading there now, yeah.
He's heading there now?
We have two locations. We have the Rawlings Training Center here, and then Balls and Strikes in Baldwin. And we opened Balls and Strikes in 2020. Oh, I'm sorry, 2000. So it's been
2000.
2000. We've been there about 24, going on 25 years here coming up. So it's been a while. Yeah.
Well, because you remarked, right?
Yeah.
Who hasn't been there?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up hitting in there as a kid. I played at Missouri Baptist down the road in NA High School. We practiced there. And obviously now I work here, so yeah, I'm definitely partial to Baldwin for sure.
Yeah.
So you played against my son.
Yep, probably, more than likely.
Yeah, because his last year at Hannibal LaGrange was the year before COVID, 2019.
Okay. I may not have then.
Oh,
Were
really?
you
My first year at MOBAP was COVID.
Oh, was it really? Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
it was COVID, 21, 22.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. Because one of his last games was he pitched at MOBAP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got
Carter
that.
does a great job with us. He does our a lot of our infield stuff, and he's a left-handed bat. So he coached at Maryville University this past fall. So he's really energetic and
Works with a lot of
what
our
he
youth
does,
teams.
and-
Energetic. I like how you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I got to bring it for sure.
You coaching at Maryville?
I did this fall. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I graduated from Missouri Baptist in 22. I'm playing independent ball off and on for a year or two, 3 years. Yeah, and in the winter I started working here. As far as private lesson stuff, youth stuff goes, infield stuff with the high schoolers, high school hittings, and it's just kind of growing as I stick around more and more, So
Now, just curiosity. Just ask the question. It's baseball instruction, doing this thing. Is that, is that something you'd thought about doing when you were playing ball? Is this something you thought about doing?
yeah, so it was probably the last year or two, I was at Missouri Baptist, and I found myself helping my teammates out, like helping them just get better, and it not being like a chore for me. Like, I felt like it was just like I was naturally invested in trying to help the guys get better, and I was like, hey, I might actually be pretty good at this. And my coach over there, Eddie Elshold, has been there at Missouri Baptist for the longest time. Great guy. He asked me, I think it was my exit meeting of my senior fall. He asked me if I wanted to coach because he already knew. I guess he could tell. So yeah, I didn't always know I wanted to coach, but I realized that I was like, yeah, I should do this.
Yeah, very
For
good.
the last couple of years.
Very good.
So
What do you like better? Youth, high school?
I think it's just completely different.
How so?
I think high school stuff I can get much more technical and hands-on with guys.
Right.
And youth guys, I'm just trying to hammer the basics out,
Yeah.
which is equally important. If I can get the high school guys that already have the basics, I'm fine-tuning the machine then a little bit. Obviously, when they're 16 and 17, I'm really fine-tuning them. But, yeah, I just think it's not for better or worse. It's a different ball game, I guess.
So when you're talking about, basics, foundational structure for a youth baseball player, what would you say those things are?
From offensive side, defensive side, just in general?
Just in general.
Let's just talk from a hitting side just because. Being able to repeat their swing over and over, like very simple stuff like balance, barrel path, like teaching them about timing. I think a lot of guys, I'm teaching them about timing, like what it feels like if you're late on a pitch, what if you're early on a pitch. A lot of them are just trying to learn that concept of timing on their own so that whenever they're hitting without me, if they get blown up on a ball or they're really out in front, like they can begin to self-coach themselves rather than me just telling them like, hey, you were late, okay.
What does that mean?
It's not like sinking, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think challenge for me as far as like why I like to use stuff is getting them to begin to learn the concepts on their own rather than me just telling them and then they just do it. Because in the short term, when I'm in the cage like with them, it's going to help them because I'm right there with them, but I want them to be able to like take it and run with it when I'm not around.
Do you keep the language basic for those kids?
Yeah, I try to. It's, I guess another thing, I'm a kind of a rookie in the coaching world a little bit, especially compared to these two guys. But I think being able to scale up and scale down constantly. My language, my messaging to like relay information to them is different with legitimately every single player, regardless of age. So that's a challenge for me, and that's why I like it.
I always thought it was important, especially 9, 10, 11, if you got a dad or a mom coming to the and watching or listening, that they understand the language and are able to, if they're out there in the garage putting the balls on the tee, do they saying the same things, right?
Yeah, they're the reinforcer.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
It's got to be that way.
Yeah.
And I think this is where you guys can correct me, or you have a different thought process. But we talk about, we always know, everybody always kind of says, oh, there's crazy parents. There are crazy parents. We get that. But I always like the conversation, and I think it's important to have the parent involved in that part of it for that reason. Correct?
They have to be. I mean, it goes both ways. You can't have the over-involved doing everything for their child parent, but you also don't want the parent who's just staying away and letting the child do everything. It has to be a two-way street because, again, like ultimately, they're the one who's going to be with their kid far more than the instructor or the coach.
Right.
And they have to be able to reinforce those instructions, the foundations that are taught, and you always want them there with them, right? You want it as a team. And also, they're obviously growing up with their child, and they're just as invested, if not more, than their child at times, and you want synergy in that relationship.
You just don't want them behind the backstop going, don't drop your elbow.
Right,
No, don't do that. Yeah. Just cheer.
Right.
We don't get a lot of those parents really though, like doing instruction. And I learned this years ago, like the parents that kind of know it all or think they do, they're not going to bring their kids somewhere else to learn. So the parents that actually sign up and take the time or invested in it, those parents I think understand that it's a good rapport, like
right.
They know their kid needs to get better and they want them in other hands to teach them and try to develop them. So we don't get a ton of those where they're coaching from outside the cage. In the ballpark, you'll see it a lot more.
Yes.
Coaching behind the backstop.
Yeah.
But it's
I think that's the biggest thing. It's like you guys say, you want to be involved when it needs to be. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I never liked this. You guys can chime in on this. I always thought, you're in the dugout or you're in the third base box, or first base box, whatever. Oh, you're late on that, or this or that. I think that's the wrong time to do that. Agreed?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that player has so many things going so fast through their heads that the more information that gets in there, whether that's coming from coach, parent, another player on the team, it just makes that equation even harder to figure out.
It's the same thing with pitching, throw strikes.
Of course.
Thanks.
That's the idea.
Genius, my friend. I'm sorry. Don't do that. If you're a coach, don't do that. Yeah. We know, and hey, you know what? If nothing else, you're trying to get that kid to relax.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell a joke.
100%. Those are some of the best mound visits I've ever had. Don't go out there and talk about anything other than baseball.
Right? I mean, my goodness. You know, his sphincter's puckered enough already, man. Come on, the bases are loaded. Let's go.
Yep.
No, but I think these are things that we like to discuss on the show because I think it's good for parents. There'll be parents that don't like it or whatnot, but I think the majority of people, what do we need to understand about how we're helping the development process, right?
100%.
You guys are those people that are here because of your experience. And I want to talk a little bit about this with you guys. Your experience, first time I met you, was at the St. Louis Amateur Baseball Hall of Fame induction. You were getting inducted.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your experience and where you played.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm a local here, and I played at Lafayette High School for Bob Swift and Rusty Ryan.
There you go.
Way back in the day. Graduated in 94, went to Mizzou, played there for 3 years. I was in Tim Jameson's first recruiting class. Had a real good, fun time at Mizzou and great teammates and a great experience. And then I got drafted by the Twins in the 29th round, and I think the 97 draft, and signed after my junior year. Went back and finished school pretty soon after that while I was in the minor leagues. Played 4 years of minor league ball with the Twins and Yankees. Had a stint with the Rascals in between. Hit the first ever home run at TRU Stadium.
Nice.
So opening night with Jack Clark was our manager. Yeah, fun
That's
fact.
sweet.
So anytime we play at TRU, one of our guys hits a bomb, I'll say, "Hey, we're on the bookends now," and then somebody else will hit it.
Yeah.
But for that second, we were there, first and most recent.
That's cool.
But yeah, kind of fun fact.
We're going to use that we got to use that for trivia.
Let's do it. Do it.
I like that.
Yeah. No, then after that I started teaching. I was doing kind of lessons, a lot of hitting stuff while I was playing. Had a passion for it. Got my degree in education. Was going to go down the teaching, coaching path, and then I really took a liking to the private lessons and one-on-one hitting instruction, and that led to a facility, which is Balls and Strikes in Baldwin, doing summer camps and other clinics, and then it all evolved from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What have you seen? I mean, you've obviously seen a lot of baseball. I mean, from playing to coaching and whatnot. What are your thoughts on how the game has changed, evolved, this, that, good, bad, ugly?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely evolved, especially club baseball. We're a big part of that here with other good clubs in St. Louis, helping along the way. But it wasn't like that when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, obviously, and it's changed. It's changing quickly. I feel like the baseball world is a lot more connected outside of St. Louis than maybe people realize in town here. Just clubs and directors working with each other, knowing each other. Social media has been a big part of that. It's helped with college recruiting on that end. Kids in the Midwest and in St. Louis are going to different schools, south, west, east, and they wouldn't have gone to 15, 20 years ago, know? So that's the positive side of it for sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the whole experience is honestly, I mean, even the last 10
Yeah.
years, I've been in this for 15 years with Aaron since I came out of college. The whole experience on the youth level in high school it's completely different from the ability of training instruction to technology to facilities, where they can go play, the experience level. It's changing very constantly.
Yeah.
For good and bad, but I would say the vast majority good.
Good.
Yeah.
I got to take a real quick moment. Folks, our good buddies did the shirts for us here. Prime Sports Midwest. Go see Rick Benz. They got them sort of facility back up and running. I'm so glad. That was tough.
saw that.
Did you guys
Yeah.
see that?
I saw the pictures. The pipe broke and got
Oh,
flooded.
Yeah,
right? So,
got flooded. But they're
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Go check out Prime Sports Midwest. They've got fan wear. I personally, you guys, right? I love to go in and put the glove on, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I'm not ordering a glove on mine, not a chance.
Right?
No way. I got to put it on.
And one of the great things about Prime Sports Midwest, they are in Champions Village. You can go demo bats So if you want to pick up a bat and go swing it, they've got demo bats there. It's a great place to go for all your baseball needs. Uniforms, they got the fan wear shops. Perfect stuff. Prime Sports Midwest. Tell Rick Brian sent you, Youth Baseball Midwest. We appreciate those guys over there and what they do. So I want to come back to this real quick on what you were saying. Because I hear a lot of people say, man, we got to do leagues and this and that, and I'm like, I don't know if leagues are ever going to come back into the like they used to be.
Correct. Yeah, it's certainly shifted, especially on the youth side, to where it used to be you'd have wherever you were kind of situated, whatever city and ordinance you were in, you'd play in your local athletic association league. That's where I grew up. I grew up around Kirkwood Athletic Association.
Okay.
So I played there growing up and played at Manchester, and that's just based on location where I played, and that's the team you got assigned to, and then you kind of went forward with your career. And it's kind of changed, but then all of a sudden all the tournaments on the weekends started to happen, and those started to kind of gain traction, which is good, and it gives a different experience type to it. And now it seems like a lot, especially as you get older, it starts to gravitate towards that weekend play a little bit more.
Yeah. People say, oh man, tournaments, they're everybody always kind of negative toward things. I always look at what are we doing that's positive. If tournaments are where they're at, what do we do? How do we make sure it stays within a framework that the kids are developing? Sure, at the end, who doesn't want to play on Sunday in a championship game, right? How do we help temper those things, keep things in perspective? And yeah, if you're good enough and you're playing on that, but how do you get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts at the coaches. Like the coaches had to have the right perspective on it. They're there to develop and teach, and they need to develop every kid on that roster, not just a certain 8 or 9. And I think they need expectations with parents in advance. That's something that we stress a lot with our core values and coaches that we bring in and want to align with. Because it's everyone wants to win when that game starts. Everyone wants to play on Sunday, but
Right.
I always think schedule your tournaments out based on the approximate number of games you want to play, and develop those kids. That's where it has to start, and it doesn't mean much in youth baseball. Kind of looking back from the high school side down, doesn't matter if you win those or lose those or what kind of trophies you're bringing home. You want to keep those kids engaged in the game and keep it fun and active and learning and keep them on the ladder towards high school. So I think the coaches have a huge responsibility in reining that part of it in, and parents need to keep their expectations in check. So
there's always the big question that we get, and we partner with Game 7 Baseball. We have a great time out at the tournaments. We do a lot of interviews with the kids,
Sure.
And we do baseball trivia,
Yeah.
because it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's enough stress on those kids out there, chucking around, and everybody's like, come on, throw the ball,
Yeah. Yep.
So we always just try to make it fun. But I always wonder about, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. We can start down there with you, David. But A, AA, AAA major, how do we assess those things?
Well, I think that I'll take our perspective first, because, and I'll just take a perspective of a kid coming out of 14U coming into high school baseball. We don't put a whole lot of stock, to be quite honest with you, in terms of this kid played AAA major, this kid played AA. Everybody grows at a different rate. They mature at a different time period. They're just different players at different age groups. The studs that are always studs at 10 sometimes aren't always the studs at 15.
Agreed.
And so I try to tell parents quite often, because they ask, where do we fit? What should we do? And same with coaches. And we try to tell coaches when we're trying to give advice on what level to play and what schedule to play, find a schedule that's going to challenge your kids. That doesn't matter if it's AA, single A, AAA, major. Find a schedule where if you hover a little bit above 500 in that winning percentage and you play a lot of tough teams that challenge you, you get some of your wins over here. The kids are having fun. They're engaged in the game. They're getting a great experience. And like Charles said, they're staying on that ladder, moving up. The kids will progress as they progress, and they get more invested in the game. The levels itself, it is a good thing, and it should, because you don't want a major
Right.
level team beating up
Right.
on a AA team, because that's not fun for either.
I agree.
So there's a point in the process too, and I do see and hear a lot of times coaches maybe playing above or below what they should for whatever reason. I would just say play at the level where you're going to compete the absolute most.
You're new in this game, whatnot, and you're coming
Yep.
along there. What's your thoughts on that?
I think, especially from the youth side, as far as like levels go, like Dave was saying, if you can hover around 500 or so, right? You're playing at tough teams, but you're not getting beat up on 24/7. Like, I think it makes the kids want to show up at the ballpark every time,
Right.
And if the kids want to show up at the ballpark, I think that's like, at least in my opinion, the start of a baseball career. Like, if the kids they want to play baseball, they want to go to the indoor facility, they want to show up and take extra ground balls, whatever. You're not making them do that, and they're looking forward to showing up to the ballpark and hanging out with their buddies and playing baseball. Then that's where I think that's how it gets going, and that's how you play baseball for a long time, in my opinion. I think kids make a mistake when it becomes a job for them way too early.
I agree.
Way too early.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, if they're looking forward to showing up at the ballpark, then you're on to something,
Yeah.
for sure.
I agree. Well, I always like the thought process, and this is what I've said this to kids and whatnot. Look, you get beat 3-2, 4-2. They made one more play than you did.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tip your cap, shake hands, and let's go get better.
Yeah.
And I think if we get more back to baseball, and that's where I think those things are, and that is what the rankings are about. I think but then you have those question marks of where teams, and I got a lot of respect for what Game 7 does, and that's, we see them a lot and we talk. They'll tell the team, hey, look, we got to move you up.
Sure.
You're killing everybody. You
Sure.
guys,
That team should move up.
Right?
I mean, yeah. Again, try to hover around 500. So it's fine.
and then if you're hovering around 500, then how are you challenging your kids to get better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that's the point of it.
Sure.
And if you understand you're at 500 as a player and whatnot, and you say, how do I get better? What's the next play? Excuse me. And that goes to your point. How many mistakes can you lessen in a game,
Sure.
right?
Well, and that's great about being in that type of a schedule, because there's going to be so many teachable moments in that schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's also going to be a lot of moments to emphasize the good play that you did. You guys did all these things really well because we worked on these, we practiced these, reinforced it. Look what it did for our process. Look at what it did for our record. Now we played this team. Look at the mistakes we made. Those are teachable. Those you're constantly teaching in this game, and it's your job as a coach to pick those out and then go assess and work.
I love the fact, as you're talking about teachable, hey guys, what did we do wrong in the game?
Sure.
Nothing. And we lost 3-2. Why? Because that young man just was able to get one more hit. And I think, I think that gets lost at the youth levels, is that understanding, because as you get older and you're playing in more competitive situations, kids get bigger, stronger, learn how to play the game better. That's really what it boils down to, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Play here or there.
Right? If you make an error, it happens, You see that happen even at the high school. And at the high school level, you got a coach that puts a lot of pressure on a defense. Sometimes the defense cracks.
Yep.
And that's where you still see some of these kids who still learning how to mature and play the game properly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It happens at the major leagues, that walk, right?
Happens all
Free
the time.
bases usually equals a run.
Yeah.
It happens all the time at
Baseball
every
101.
level.
The coaches need to be patient and develop that. They need to understand that that's going to happen, and at every level. It's going to. I was at the Mizzou camp this weekend. I was talking to Tim Jamison, their pitching coach, and he was telling me they got such a young team there, and there's a good chance one of their freshmen might be playing this year. He's like, look, he's probably going to tear it up in non-conference. When they get an SEC play, he's going to struggle. We know that. We need to make sure, we're patient with that player and get him through that because he's going to be good down the road for us. Yeah. It's no different than a youth player. They're going to struggle at times. They're going to face players that are better and throw harder, but it's how they're going to learn too, Yeah, so,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a great perspective. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Mizzou alum, what do you think?
Cotton Bowl champs.
Well, football, that's great. I'm talking baseball. New coach Jackson and whatnot. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I like him. He's very, very passionate. Definitely a people person, a relationship guy. We got 3 of our guys now in our 17U team committed there with him, and they all speak very highly of him and their recruiting meetings and what happened and everything. And I know Carrick. I grew up with him in the same class. He went to Kirkwood High School. I was at Lafayette. Played on a few teams together in the fall, and he was at Nebraska and I was at Mizzou, so we've kind of known him throughout his career as well, and he really is a good dude. So tough conference, but I think he has a chance to get it done there. He put together a great staff too, so there's some really good teachers there that are helping him. Yeah.
You talk about Mizzou's football and I wonder if this translates. I think one of the toughest things development-wise for our area, and why I think indoor facilities are absolutely necessary here because of weather.
Yep.
How does that challenge Mizzou playing, especially in the SEC with all these southern schools that are able to get down, out, play ball, the weather? Does it slow down the process or slow down the progress a little bit?
What do you think,
It's
Dave?
inevitable a little bit.
Just
Yeah,
part of
there's-
playing in the Midwest and the
welcome
North.
to it.
But,
Obviously,
yeah.
different opportunities. You hear this all the time, just from southern kids in the part of the country to Midwest kids to northern kids. Your southern kids growing up have played infinitely more games than the Midwest kids and the northern kids,
Right.
and that kind of trickles into those early college years, and that's kind of when the Midwest kids and the northern kids tend to kind of start to catch up a little bit. But they've been on a field for their entire life, and those southern schools they're practicing outside right now. Well, Mizzou has a great indoor and a great indoor facility. It's not the same as being outside, but they'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you get on some of those fields down south where it's back to dirt and grass, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hops are different,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
It ain't that same turf hop.
Yeah. Very different.
Those fields are pretty nice though.
They are. They are. Is Mizzou's field turf or is it
Yeah,
grass?
it's turf.
Turf
It's-
infield, grass outfield.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
like Wichita State was
Yep.
back in the day. Yeah.
Yep.
Watched. I do have Coach Stevenson's autograph.
Do ya?
I was there in Wichita a little bit when they were just kind of at the tail end of their
Okay.
run, whatnot. That was a good
That was a
good.
program.
powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
And they had a great facility, and I think talking about facilities and around here, when you're talking about St. Louis baseball, and I think that goes into this. If you're going to have a program, you got to have the facilities to be able to develop the kids properly, correct?
Yeah, I think you need a space and room, and I think you definitely need the technology side of it and the equipment. You need to have a good staff too. That's kind of where the whole thing starts from. You need the right people, and then that's going to help fill the facility and grow the program. But yeah, there's some.
So
there's
it's
some
not
good
just
ones
called
in
hit tracks, right?
No.
They sure do like it though.
Oh, they do.
So it's a way to gamify the
Yeah.
game a little bit.
Yeah,
You guys do any home run derbies?
Yeah.
yeah, we do. Just kids have fun in there.
We do
That's cool.
competitions. Yeah, that's
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, any nowadays, it's any way you can gamify the sport a little bit.
Sure.
It seems to be how the kids learn a little bit more and have a little bit more fun.
Heck yeah, you got to compete somehow. How do you teach a 9-year-old to compete, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are kids that I think are naturally competitive, and then there are kids that kind of have to learn how to do that, right?
Yep.
You run into that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some kids I can put them up against each other, especially at the youth level, and they're ready to they'll dive on the cage turf. They'll rip their knee up and they won't care if they're playing ground ball knockout or something.
Yeah.
Right, and then some kids you have to try to get them going. I mean, every personality is different.
I do want to, because we're going to get into a little bit of this. I want to talk to you guys about a little more national, but I want to come back to this. This is a question for you guys. You can answer, you don't have to. I don't care. But to me, I've asked this, starting to ask this a little bit more when I'm talking to gentlemen like yourselves. What do you think of when we start ranking 9U, 10U, 11U, 12U teams?
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard. I know that it's a cool thing out there, and parents and teams get a kick out of it, and programs get a kick out of it, and it's so hard. Just because, I mean, how could you have the coverage to see all that? And
You don't.
You don't. And
I'm just going to say that.
yeah,
You don't.
Yeah, and it's even hard on the high school level. I mean,
Tell
it's
me about
incredibly
it.
hard, and those kids are far more published and way more information out there on them, and you have a much better feel for that landscape, and they're still 9 times out of 10 not correct, and it's a part of it, and obviously it's something that's very popular that people want to put their hat on, and I think it plays a purpose, but I would say the weight of it, would I weigh it too much if I were a coach? Probably not.
No, because I think I see, and no offense to travel baseball rankings
Sure.
and whatnot.
Sure.
They do what they do, and
Sure.
and there are coaches that send information to them, and that's how they're getting it. But they ain't no way those teams have played each other. I mean, in high school, it's
Sure.
like the national rankings in high school. Those are very subjective.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I look at the PBR national rankings, and they're ranking teams based on they're subjective, and I guarantee a PBR would tell you that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't sit here and blame them or say anything.
No,
they're
no.
doing the best job they can with the information that's available to them, and obviously there's a market and there's people who want it.
I like it at the high school level personally. Even though it is subjective, I like it at the high
state
school level.
rankings. Yeah.
You have and then they go the national. They have the Midwest.
Yeah.
The Southwest and all that, and then they have the national.
Plus, it's a high school's got a governing body.
Right.
The rosters are set. They're not moving. Kids aren't hopping around. There's not a true governing body over youth baseball or summer travel baseball.
Right.
And we played in a tournament in Fort Myers, Florida, MLK weekend a few weeks ago with our national teams. And there was I think a 17U entry from a group down south, and they had how many kids on that roster?
72.
72 kids on this tournament roster, and they show 30, 40 commits, and I guarantee there weren't 72 kids in that dugout. There was probably 12 or 13. Like it's a sliding roster. So how do they govern that? And you know what I mean? Like the rankings just don't mean anything. So.
And
It's a different model.
Especially-
I'm saying right or wrong, it's
Yeah.
a different model than most organizations have.
And I want to make sure people, I'm talking teams.
Sure.
You definitely, I know they don't rank the kids, and they shouldn't. I'm talking about teams at 9U, 10, 11. But I still, like I said,
Yeah.
how many teams are traveling, you send in your stuff and you get ranked 30th and you never played outside of your state.
Right.
How do you do that? I think some of these things tend to create more issues than they resolve,
Right.
personally. And so, and this is where I always want, I think we should, as adults, use reason. If you play out of town and whatnot, and you've got, you've got a record of 20-10, and nothing wrong with that record.
Nope.
That's a good baseball record. And I think sometimes I don't think kids, I've had kids when I'm interviewing them at the ballpark, they say, so how's your season going, fellas? Oh, it's going all right. Oh, do you know your record? Yeah, I think we're like, 15 and, 7 or 8, whatnot. Yeah, we're doing okay. I'm like, guys,
It's pretty good.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I said, that's a good baseball record. Really? Yes.
Yeah.
You should, do you understand? And I think sometimes at 9, 10, 11, 12, they don't understand that perspective.
Yeah.
We're just having a good time at the ballpark.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or no, they're not. They're like, oh, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
I've had kids say we're not doing very good, and they got they're above 500. I'm like, you're doing fine, fellas. Don't worry about it. You're doing good. If you're above 500 in baseball, you're pretty good.
just
You're doing
fine.
all right.
You're just fine.
Because you see that, and a 500, 560,
Yeah.
winning percentage in baseball gets you in the
it does.
playoffs.
I wish the Cardinals had that last year.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Right. So, gentlemen, national level, you guys, I think this is an interesting topic. You definitely have a national level teams. I think true national level teams. Talk to the folks about the difference between a true national level team and teams that just kind of name themselves national.
You want to take this one, Dave?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking at some of the teams that are compiled from players all across the country, which you have your groups at the high school level and even on the youth level that do that, that's a hand-chosen roster most of the time. That's coaches who are putting together rosters of players. They know their background. They're the best player in this region. They're the best player over in this city. They're the best player over here. And they come together, and obviously you can think that's a pretty high caliber, talented team.
Right.
Now, there aren't as many as probably people think out there that actually succeed with that and do that very well, but there are some out there. And a lot of times, with most of our programs, we're very much more regionally and city-based. We pull from a 40, 50-mile radius around where we're located, and that's where we choose the players from, and we battle it out with the other options in the area, and we go out with the best that we have. And it's tough, not saying that, we'll run into teams that we have that can go compete, especially if you have a good arm on the mound, a good couple pitchers in that game. But it's tough game in, game out to compete with some of those more national-type structured clubs, just because you're choosing the best guy from St. Louis, you're choosing the best guy from Kansas City, the best guy from Chicago. Let's all meet up in Georgia.
Yeah, right. Wisconsin, New York,
Yeah.
You seeing these kids come from everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, true national type team, correct?
Yeah.
So as a program, and you set yourself in that place, to go and compete at a Lake Point and put yourself in those situations, and you need kids that most of that's Power 5 stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the games at those types of tournaments, you're going to have your 4 to 10 Division I guys on a field.
Or at least Division
At
I,
least
whether it's
Division
Power
I,
5,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And it's for sure high-end baseball, and you got to have, not that every roster's like that, but you got to have a roster that's full of guys who are going to go play college at some level. And you'll have your handful of Division I guys to go compete there. You'll have your high Division IIs, your good junior college guys. They'll compete just fine, especially at the high school level. But it is a different world in some of those higher-end type elite venues.
And there's not a ton of those events out there. Like there's a select few where those top teams
Even on the
and
youth
or
side,
top
the same.
kids are going to gravitate towards,
Yeah.
and Lake Point's got a few during the year, and Grand Park's got a few, and Creekside has a few, and talking about the Midwest and South a little bit there. There's a whole different story out west and whatnot. But
Yeah, the West is
yeah.
kind of its own animal too.
Yes,
isn't
it is.
yeah, so
Yes, it is.
Do you guys venture out there much?
nah,
We don't take
don't
our
go.
teams out there.
Yeah.
Not very often.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of recruiting benefit on the high school side, or
Yeah.
it's obviously a lot of costs on the parent side too. So,
yeah.
Expand on that thought. I like what you said there.
in terms of like us choosing a schedule,
Recruiting
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
Well, we've had 460 players who've come through our program to go play on college baseball. If I had to venture, 90 to 95% of our players are going to go to a school within a 4 to 5 hour radius of where they're at. There's a comfortability factor, being close to your parents, being able to travel back home on weekends, just not
Still
being,
want mom to do your laundry.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Without question.
Just not being able to only come home at Thanksgiving and Christmas via plane.
Yep.
And you got your 5% out there that'll go for academic reasons, family on the coast, whatnot, and it's just a fit. But the vast majority of guys that we have, and for most programs, you're going to stay relatively close to home. And that's where we set our schedules. We want to be able to get out in front of those coaches. We want to be able to go see those venues because that's who needs to see them. That's where the numbers show it.
When you're talking about the youth levels, do you guys make a point to talk about that thought process when coaches are scheduling 9, 10, 11, 12 you?
Like, as far as travel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do, and I think the flip side of it is for that age group, I think the travel, we encourage at least a travel because
Sure.
I think it's a lot of fun for them.
Yeah.
Like the hotels and the kids and the swimming pool, that whole thing, and
Oh, yeah.
the bonding the team has, especially early in the season, can really bring that group of kids and parents together. So we do encourage it, and then our upper level teams may need to go a few more times to see some different teams and ballparks and whatnot, but I do think some of it's good, you know. Not saying every weekend, but
No,
it needs to be a mix based on the level they're at. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I like this thought process. And I want to ask you because I've heard, I don't necessarily mind playing the same teams all the time. I think that, I don't think, and I know that's what people say, we want to see somebody different. And I think to myself, well, you get into high school, you're going to play in a conference, you're going to see the same teams, you're going to play the same pretty much non-conference schedule. For the most part, you might switch up here and there, so you're seeing those teams pretty much all the time. You get into college, you play a conference schedule, you pretty much play the same non-conference schedule. If you're fortunate to get into the major leagues, you're going to play the same teams over and over. So I've never quite grasped that thought process of seeing get in, play the teams you're playing. Do you have a nemesis? Do you have a rivalry? Do you even? I think those things are great. There used to be in the leagues. We did when we were playing in leagues. My son, we had a couple teams. It was always those tough ones. You wanted to beat them because you lost the last time by one run. We got to get them back. I don't know if. I think that's fun stuff. Maybe we've lost a little bit of that. What do you
I think
think?
the rivalry factor fits a little more into high school baseball.
I agree.
That's where a lot of that is, of playing your rival school, and you grew up with those kids, they grew up with you, and now we get to go do battle. And kids really relish that. They enjoy that. That's where you get to see both dugouts getting pretty into it. The fan base are getting into it. Maybe a little bit too much.
yeah.
That's where you see that a lot. I think sometimes you see in our world where it's either a youth, club team or a high school team. Sometimes when they play the same guys, they're just like, oh, we're playing them again. Whether it's going to be a good name or not, and we try as coaches to be like, yeah,
Come
that's
on, boys.
fine.
Let's go.
Another opportunity. You get to go play a good game.
Yeah.
Get to go see another good player. I don't care if you face them 10 times. Go face them in 11th.
Yeah.
But they like to see variety.
I know, but I think that part of it is something I think we're not teaching as well. Because guys, look, you know what? You're going to see those guys in high school too.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's going to be the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
This is what baseball is. I've played. You see the same team. They beat you once. We beat them twice. We're back here. How do you do that? And understanding that's the game of baseball. I'm looking forward to it. Go ahead.
And I'd even say, and those are the moments where you really kind of start to figure out who the real type of baseball players are. In those situations where it's not easy to get motivated.
Right.
You're playing the same team for the 6th time in the summer. It's 100 degrees out. Some kids are going to be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Some kids are going to be like, it's baseball, dude. We get to compete again. We get to go out and do this again. And you try to teach that no matter the situation, I don't care if it says St. Louis Cardinals on their chest or the St. Louis Braves or whoever. It doesn't matter. You're playing the game a certain way.
I kind of call them like separator games or separator ABs. So I was playing independent baseball this past summer, got released in May, and started coaching a collegiate summer ball team at Fallon Hoots at T.R. Hughes, but Car Shield now. We played every day, right, or really close to every day, and we played at 1 o'clock on Sundays, and there might not be that many people there. Of course, we play our Friday night games where there's 3,500 people there, but we played a handful of games, where there's nobody in the stands. There's 15 people in the stands. Or it rained, and we had a 2-hour rain delay, and we sat in the dugout, and then we started playing again. And at least for me, like when I was looking guy to guy as a coach, because that was the first time in my life I ever coached, the good players, it didn't matter. I was telling them, I was like, dude, like you go put up a good at bat when you're down by 9 in the 9th inning, and you find a way to get on base or take a walk, or you hit a bleeder over the first baseman, you hustle double. Like, I think at the end of the season, that's the separator games and separator ABs. Because every game that you play in baseball is not going to have 2,000 people there.
For the love of the game, right, baby?
Yeah, like I think
What it's about.
the hitters or pitchers, whoever,
Yeah.
finding a way to have the same mentality, even if there's not that many people there, is big time, right? Because the midweeks for colleges, let's just go to the college level, not every midweek game you play is going to be as crazy as your Friday night conference game.
Yeah.
But the stats are the same.
Yeah.
You get on Baseball Reference, it's 4 at-bats. It doesn't matter if it's Wednesday or Friday.
Hey, listen, some of these Tuesday night games we do with the GAC,
Oh, yeah.
there's some serious stuff going on. There's fans, it's
yeah.
rowdy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. And,
How many games you do each year at GAC?
we do the whole schedule.
Do you?
This year we're starting off with St. Charles West
Okay.
at, or Winfield at St. Charles West.
Okay.
We're going to do all 9 games of the GAC Classic
Okay.
at Carshield. Our finale is Zumwalt West or Francis Howell at Zumwalt West.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah,
That's cool.
You can't go wrong with that, man.
That'll be a good one.
Right? Those games are rowdy. Those two teams just claw at each other, and it's just baseball, man. You gotta love those games.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, it was fun. It's been fun doing these, and a guy like Kenton Deverman, that's a guy I'd love to play behind him. Compete.
Yeah.
That is some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
I would not want to try and hit that guy. I don't pay too much attention to the stats in certain respects, but I went back and I was looking at stats because we're doing our GAC previews and stuff. I was looking at his. I didn't know it. He had a .81 ERA last year.
Is that good?
Moly.
Is that good?
good.
No. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was sub 1 ERA
That's pretty
for
elite.
the season.
That's having a good time in the spring right there, for sure.
Oh, mercy. And that's tough because there's some of those games earlier, cold.
Oh, yeah.
Can you feel the baseball?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
that's impressive. That was
Absolutely.
just impressive. So, no, man, we're having a good time with that stuff.
Good.
And I think that's the thing. And that's why I like to ask that question, because how are you teaching those 9, 10? Don't worry about playing the same teams every weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
fine. Learn how to, as you said, just
Yeah.
play for the game,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I think that's what it goes to. Your national teams, where you guys go and compete?
We try to target some off-type seasonal events that are on more of the major scale. Some good destination venues like Fort Myers, Florida. We've been out to Phoenix before. We're going to target Mesa, Arizona next year.
I like it.
Just some good venues where we know the weather's going to be somewhat good at that point in time, and try to get some venues where we can pull Tigers from all across the country in. It's been a pretty neat experience to see those families that some are from Chicago, some are from Los Angeles, some are from Atlanta, Georgia. They all meet together and get to know each other, talk about their experiences of their club baseball, their youth baseball scene, and they end up having some lifelong friends with it. It's pretty cool.
That's good stuff. Guys, thanks for allowing us to come in.
You bet.
Hang
It's
out.
awesome. So,
Y'all see us back here? It's cool stuff. It's starting to fill up. Everybody's starting to get in.
file
And,
in after school.
yes, indeed. It is that time. Got the helicopters from the airport going over.
That's right.
I was like, man, are we going to get it raided or something? Hope not. We're just talking baseball, guys. But a lot of fun. Aaron, as
Thank you.
always, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Really enjoy it.
Anytime.
And we're going to see a lot of your guys' players this summer. Some
Absolutely.
baseball.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Come on
Flag
out.
them down whenever you see them.
Yeah.
Get them on camera. It's good for them.
We will. We will definitely do that. We'll definitely do that. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, please take a moment, hit the subscribe button. Next to it is that dinger. Hit the dinger, because chicks dig the long ball,
Fair enough.
right? And you don't mind a dinger or two here and there. Did you hit any?
I did. Handful, yeah.
There you go. I like that.
Yep.
That gets you notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. Make sure you stay tuned. Winter workout in full swing. We're going to be back next week. We're heading out to the Sports Barn next week, out the new one at Wood River, so I appreciate that. We're looking forward to that. So join us again live next week. We'll be back. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, what's your pitchers do? You got some advice for pitchers?
Keep the ball down.
Keep the ball down. I like that. That's good advice. Hitters,
Don't swing at the change upside or down.
all good advice, guys. Get some good advice. We'll see y'all next time.